What his mother found in his car destroyed our marriage in seconds. I thought I knew my husband. 7 years of marriage, a life built together, shared dreams and routines, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened at that family dinner. The moment his mother stood up, holding one of my panties in her hand, demanding to know why she found it in her son's car, my entire world shattered. What was worse, discovering my husband had been secretly wearing my lingerie for years, or finding out at the exact same moment as his entire family, watching their faces transform from confusion to shock to horror as the truth exploded in front of everyone. This is the story of how one family dinner ended my marriage and exposed a secret that had been hiding in plain sight all along. But before we get into this absolutely insane story, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss these real-life stories. And if you enjoy this content, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more stories like this one. Now let's get into what happened that night. Part 1. The Small Strange Things. My name is Jessica, and I've been married to David for 7 years. 7 years of what I thought was a normal, stable marriage. We met when I was 26, and he was 28. Both of us working in corporate jobs. Both of us ready to settle down and build a life together. David was everything I thought I wanted. Stable, reliable, kind. Maybe not the most passionate man I'd ever dated, but passion fades, right? What matters is partnership, compatibility, shared values. That's what everyone told me. That's what I believed. We had a nice apartment in the city, 2 cats, a routine that worked for both of us. Date nights on Fridays, brunches on Sundays, the kind of life that looks perfect from the outside. But for the past 2 years, I'd been noticing small, strange things. Things that individually meant nothing but together formed a pattern I couldn't quite understand. It started with my underwear going missing. Not all at once, just occasionally. I'd do laundry and realize a pair was gone. Or I'd go to my drawer and notice there was one less than I remembered. At first, I blamed the washing machine. Everyone loses socks and underwear to that mysterious appliance black hole, right? But then it became more frequent and specific. It was always my nicer underwear. The lace ones, the silk ones, the matching sets I'd bought for special occasions. Never the everyday cotton briefs. I mentioned it to David once, casually while folding laundry. Have you seen my black lace underwear? The ones with the little bows? I can't find them anywhere. He barely looked up from his phone. No idea. Maybe you left them at the gym. I didn't go to the gym, but I let it go because what was the alternative? Accusing my husband of stealing my underwear? That seemed insane. Then there were the showers. David had always been a morning shower person. 15 years of knowing him, he'd never deviated from that routine. But about a year ago, he started taking showers at night too, after work, before bed, sometimes even in the middle of the day on weekends. You're really into hygiene lately, I joked once. Just like feeling fresh, he said, not meeting my eyes, and the locked drawer in his home office. We'd always had open access to each other's spaces. I could go through his desk. He could go through mine. No secrets, no locks. That was our policy. But 6 months ago, David installed a lock on one of his desk drawers. A small one, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. But I noticed. What's with the lock? I asked. Just work stuff, he said quickly. Confidential client files. My boss wants us to be more secure with documents we bring home. It made sense, but it also didn't. David worked in marketing, not national security. What documents could be so confidential they needed a lock? And then, there was our sex life, or lack thereof. We'd never been particularly adventurous, but we had a healthy physical relationship in the early years, 2 or 3 times a week, affectionate, comfortable. But over the past 2 years, it had dwindled to maybe once a month. And even then, David seemed distracted, like his mind was somewhere else, like he was going through the motions, but not really present. Is everything okay? I'd asked him multiple times. Are you stressed about work? Is something bothering you? Everything's fine, he'd say. Just tired. But he wasn't just tired. Something was off. I could feel it in my gut, that instinctive knowledge that something in your life isn't right, even if you can't pinpoint what. I started paying more attention, watching him without seeming to watch him, and I noticed more strange things. He'd started buying his own laundry detergent, kept it in his car, said it was for emergency trips to the laundromat if we ran out, but we had a washer and dryer in our apartment. Why would he need laundry detergent in his car? He'd become protective of his phone. Not suspicious exactly, but careful. He'd take it with him to the bathroom. keep it face down on tables, change his passcode, which he'd never done in 7 years of marriage. "Did you change your phone password?" I asked once. "Yeah, work requires us to update security every few months now," he said. Again, plausible, but also strange. And he'd started volunteering for errands that took him away from the house, grocery shopping, which he'd always hated, late-night runs to the pharmacy, offers to pick up dinner even when we'd already planned to cook, little escapes, little moments away from me. I told myself I was being paranoid. That marriage sometimes goes through phases, that everyone has private things they don't share with their spouse, that I was reading too much into normal behavior, but deep down I knew something was wrong, something was hidden, something was happening that David didn't want me to know about. I just had no idea what, and I never, not in my wildest imagination, could have guessed the truth. Part 2. The family dinner. The family dinner was David's mother's idea. Patricia, or Patty as everyone called her, loved hosting big family gatherings. She had a large house in the suburbs, a huge dining room table that could seat 12, and the kind of personality that made gathering the whole family feel mandatory rather than optional. It was early October, a random Saturday evening. No special occasion, just Patricia deciding it had been too long since everyone got together. David's 2 brothers would be there with their wives and kids. His sister with her husband, David's father, a quiet man who mostly let Patricia run the show, and us. I didn't particularly enjoy these dinners. Patricia had never fully warmed to me, always made subtle comments about how her other daughters-in-law were more domestic, better cooks, more involved with the grandchildren we didn't have yet. But I went because David wanted me there, and you do things for your spouse even when you don't want to. That Saturday, David seemed nervous. More nervous than usual for a family dinner. He changed his outfit 3 times, which wasn't like him at all. He kept checking his phone, seemed distracted during the drive to his parents' house. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine," he said. "Just a long week at work." We arrived right on time. The house was already full of noise. Kids running around, David's brothers arguing about football, the smell of Patricia's famous pot roast filling the air. "Jessica, David," Patricia called from the kitchen. Come in. We made our rounds, hugging everyone, making small talk, the usual family dinner ritual. I helped Patricia in the kitchen while the men gathered in the living room. Everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. We all sat down for dinner around 7. 12 of us crowded around Patricia's enormous table, passing dishes, filling plates, the chaos of a big family meal. I was sitting next to David, his brother Michael across from us, Patricia at the head of the table. We were about 15 minutes into the meal, talking about nothing important. Someone's promotion at work, plans for Thanksgiving, whether the kids needed new winter coats, when Patricia suddenly stood up, not gradually, not politely excusing herself. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor, silencing all conversation instantly. "I need to address something," she said, her voice tight and strange. "Something I found this afternoon that I cannot ignore." David went pale next to me. I felt his entire body tense. Around the table, everyone stopped eating, looking at Patricia with confusion and curiosity. Patricia reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled something out. Something small, silky, unmistakably recognizable even from across the table. My underwear. A pair of my black lace panties with small pink bows on the sides. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Patricia held them up, her face a mixture of disgust and fury. "I found these," she said, her voice shaking, "in David's car this afternoon, when I borrowed it to run errands because mine is in the shop. They were under the driver's seat. My brain stopped working. I couldn't process what I was seeing, what she was saying. Those were my underwear, that I'd been looking for months. And Patricia found them in David's car?" "Mom," David said, his voice strangled. "Please, not here?" Patricia's voice rose. "Not now? When exactly is the appropriate time to discuss why my married son has women's underwear hidden in his car? Are you having an affair, David? Is that what this is?" The table erupted. David's brothers talking over each other, his sister gasping, his father telling Patricia to calm down, the wives whispering, the kids asking what was happening. And me? I sat frozen, staring at those panties in Patricia's hand, my mind trying to make sense of something that made no sense at all. "They're not," David started, then stopped. "Not what?" Patricia demanded. "Not yours? Obviously they're not yours, David. So whose are they? Who have you been?" "They're mine," I heard myself say. My voice sounded distant, disconnected from my body. Those are my underwear. Everyone turned to look at me. Patricia's expression shifted from fury to confusion. Yours? She repeated. Then why were they in David's car? Hidden under the seat? I looked at David. He was staring at his plate, his face completely red, his hands shaking. And in that moment, I knew. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. David, I said quietly. Tell them. Jessica, please, he whispered. Not like this. Tell them why you had my underwear in your car, I said, my voice getting stronger. Tell them why my lingerie keeps disappearing. Tell them about the locked drawer. Tell them the truth. The room was completely silent now. Everyone staring at David, waiting. David closed his eyes. A tear ran down his face. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, I wear them. Part 3. The explosion. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. It was like the entire room was holding its breath, trying to process what David had just said. Then Patricia dropped the underwear like they'd burned her. What did you say? I wear them, David repeated, louder now, his voice cracking. I wear women's underwear, Jessica's underwear. I've been doing it for years. The explosion was immediate. Everyone started talking at once. Patricia was saying, no, 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 over and over. David's father stood up, his face purple with rage or embarrassment or both. His brothers were shouting questions. His sister had her hands over her mouth in shock. And I just sat there, the truth washing over me like ice water. All those missing pairs, all those extra showers, the locked drawer probably full of more lingerie, the laundry detergent in his car so he could wash them without me knowing, the distance in our intimacy because he was getting his satisfaction somewhere else, from something else. My husband was a cross-dresser, and I'd been living with him for 7 years without knowing. This is disgusting, Patricia was saying, her voice shrill. This is sick. How could you do this? How could you bring this shame on this family? Mom, stop, David's sister Sarah said, recovering faster than anyone else. Just stop. Stop? Patricia whirled on her. Your brother is wearing women's clothing. This is not normal. This is not acceptable. It's not hurting anyone, Sarah argued. It's hurting his wife. Patricia pointed at me. Look at her. Did you know about this, Jessica? Were you part of this perversion? All eyes turned to me. I felt like I was on trial for a crime I didn't commit. No, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I had no idea. So he's been lying to you, Patricia said triumphantly. For years, stealing your things, living a secret life. This is grounds for divorce. This is enough. David's voice cut through the chaos. He stood up, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Enough, Mom. Yes, I wear women's underwear. Yes, I've been hiding it. Yes, I should have told Jessica, but I'm not sick. I'm not perverted. I'm just different. Different, Patricia said the word like it tasted bad. You're a man, David. Men don't wear women's clothes. Some men do, Sarah said quietly. It's called cross-dressing. It's actually pretty common. And it doesn't mean, don't you dare defend this, Patricia snapped at her daughter. David's father finally spoke. We're leaving. He grabbed Patricia's arm. We're leaving right now. I won't sit here and listen to this anymore. Dad, David started. Don't. His father's voice was cold. Just don't. I don't know who you are anymore, but you're not the son I raised. They left. Actually got up and walked out of their own house. Patricia crying, David's father's face like stone. The rest of the family sat in uncomfortable silence. I should probably go too, Michael finally said. The kids don't need to hear this. His wife nodded, already gathering their children. One by one, David's family left, his other brother and his wife. The kids, confused and whispering, until only Sarah remained. I'm sorry, she said to David. I'm sorry they reacted that way. It's not right. It's fine, David said, but it clearly wasn't. Sarah looked at me. Are you okay? Was I okay? I didn't even know how to answer that question. My husband had been wearing my underwear for years. His entire family just found out in the most humiliating way possible. Our marriage, whatever it was, had just imploded in front of 12 people over pot roast and mashed potatoes. I need to go, I said, standing up. I need to leave. Jessica, wait. David reached for my arm. I pulled away. Don't touch me. Just don't. Please, let me explain. Explain what? My voice was rising now. All the emotion I'd been holding and finally breaking through. Explain how you've been stealing my clothes for years? Explain how you've been lying to me every single day? Explain how I've been living with a stranger who I thought was my husband? I'm still the same person, David said desperately. This doesn't change who I am. It changes everything, I was shouting now. Everything, David. You don't get to decide this doesn't change things. You don't get to tell me how to feel about finding out my husband has been living a secret life. I was scared, David said, and he was crying now. I was scared you'd react like this, like my parents, like everyone. I was scared you'd leave me. So you lied instead? I wiped angry tears from my face. You thought lying was better? You thought stealing from me was better? You thought hiding who you are was better than trusting me with the truth? David didn't answer, because there was no good answer. Sarah stood up quietly. I'm going to give you two some space. Call me if you need anything. She squeezed my shoulder on her way out, and then it was just David and me in his parents' dining room, the ruins of dinner still on the table, the ruins of our marriage hanging in the air between us. Part 4. The aftermath. We didn't go home together that night. I drove myself to my sister's apartment, left David standing in his parents' driveway, and didn't answer his calls for 3 days. Those 3 days were a blur of crying, angry ranting, and my sister Rachel trying to help me make sense of something that didn't make sense. He's been wearing your underwear, Rachel said for probably the 10th time, like saying it out loud would make it more real. For years. I know. And you had no idea. How would I have known? I snapped. Was I supposed to interrogate him every time he took a shower? Check his body for signs of wearing lace? That's not what I meant, Rachel said gently. I'm just trying to understand. You think I understand? I laughed bitterly. I don't understand anything. I don't understand why he did it. I don't understand why he couldn't tell me. I don't understand how I missed it. I don't understand what this means for us. What do you want it to mean? That was the question, wasn't it? What did I want? Did I want to forgive him? Did I want to try to work through this? Did I want a divorce? Did I want to pretend this never happened? I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. On day 4, I finally agreed to meet David. Neutral territory. A coffee shop near our apartment. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes red and swollen. His clothes wrinkled. Thank you for meeting me, he said quietly. I didn't respond, just waited for him to explain. I know you want answers, David started. I'll tell you everything. Just please don't leave before I finish. I nodded, and David told me his story. He'd first tried on women's underwear when he was 14, found a pair of his mother's in the laundry, felt compelled to try them on, experienced a feeling of rightness he'd never felt before. It scared him. He'd grown up in a conservative family, in a small town, where anything outside the norm was mocked or punished, so he buried it, pretended it never happened, but the urge never went away. Through high school, through college, through his 20s, always there, always whispering. When he was alone, he'd occasionally buy women's underwear, wear them in secret, then throw them away in guilt and shame. When we got married, he thought it would stop. Thought having a wife, building a life, would make those feelings disappear, but they didn't. They got stronger, more insistent, until about 2 years ago when he couldn't resist anymore and started taking mine. I never meant to hurt you, David said. I never meant for any of this to happen. I don't know how to explain it. Wearing them makes me feel like myself in a way nothing else does, like I'm finally comfortable in my own skin. So, you're transgender? I asked. You want to be a woman? No, David said quickly. I've thought about that a lot. I've read everything I can find. I'm not transgender. I don't want to transition. I don't feel like I'm in the wrong body. I just like wearing women's underwear. That's it. That's all it is. That's all? I couldn't keep the anger out of my voice. You've been lying to me for 2 years, stealing from me, hiding a fundamental part of yourself, and you think that's all it is? I'm not minimizing it, David said. I know I fucked up. I know I should have told you. I was just so afraid of losing you. So you chose to lie instead. I chose wrong, David admitted. I see that now. I made so many wrong choices. But Jessica, I love you. I have always loved you. This doesn't change that. It changes everything. I repeated what I'd said at the dinner. Everything, David. We sat in silence for a long time. Other coffee shop customers came and went. The barista wiped down tables. The world kept turning even though mine had stopped. Finally, I spoke. I need time. I need space to figure out what I want, what I can live with, what I can forgive. Because right now, I'm so angry and hurt and confused that I can't think straight. Of course, David said quickly. Whatever you need. I'll move out. I'll give you all the space you need. And therapy, I added. If there's any chance of us working through this, we need therapy, both together and separately. Absolutely. Whatever it takes. But even as we made these plans, made these promises, I wasn't sure I wanted to save the marriage. I wasn't sure I could move past this betrayal. I wasn't sure I could ever look at David the same way again. Epilogue. 6 months later. It's been 6 months since that disastrous family dinner. 6 months since my husband's secret exploded in front of everyone. 6 months of therapy, tears, and difficult conversations. David moved out that week. We've been living separately, seeing each other for therapy sessions and occasional dinners, trying to figure out if our marriage can survive this. The truth is, I still don't know. Some days I think, yes, we can work through this. David has been completely honest with me now. Opened that locked drawer and showed me everything. Started individual therapy to work through his shame and guilt. Joined an online support group for cross-dressers. Stopped stealing my underwear and bought his own. He's been doing the work, really trying to understand himself and be honest with me. And part of me appreciates that. Part of me still loves the man I married and wants to find a way forward. But another part of me can't forgive the years of lies, can't get past the betrayal, can't reconcile the David I thought I knew with the David who was stealing my lingerie and living a secret life. Our families have been mixed. Patricia and David's father still won't speak to him. His brothers are awkward but trying. Sarah has been amazing, supportive of both of us, helping facilitate conversations when things get too heated. My family has been supportive of me, whatever I decide. Rachel keeps asking if I'm sure I want to try to save this marriage. And honestly, I'm not sure. I'm just taking it day by day. I've learned some things in these 6 months. I've learned that cross-dressing is more common than I thought. I've learned that sexuality and gender expression are complicated. I've learned that people can hide huge parts of themselves for years. I've learned that betrayal comes in many forms. But I've also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive having my world shattered, that I can sit with uncertainty and confusion, and not have all the answers. Do I wish David had told me from the beginning? Absolutely. Do I wish I'd found out some other way than at a family dinner with his mother holding up my underwear? God, yes. Do I know if I can move past this? Not yet. What I do know is that marriage is complicated. People are complicated. And sometimes the person you think you know best in the world turns out to be hiding things you never imagined. Whether David and I make it or not, whether we rebuild our marriage or go our separate ways, I know I'll be okay. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. That family dinner broke me open, but maybe that's what I needed. Maybe I needed to shatter so I could rebuild myself stronger. As for that dinner, we never went back. Patricia sent David a letter 2 months ago saying she needed more time. His father hasn't reached out at all. David's relationship with his parents may never recover, and I think he's slowly making peace with that. Sometimes families break. Sometimes secrets explode. Sometimes the life you thought you had turns out to be an illusion, and sometimes, in the rubble of all that destruction, you have to figure out who you are and what you really want. I'm still figuring that out, but I'm figuring it out on my terms now, with full honesty, with no more secrets hiding in locked drawers or under car seats. And maybe, just maybe, that's progress.